All right. Hello, family. How y'all doing? I want to encourage you and strengthen you. And I hope that this message really um, gives you hope, strengthens your faith, and that you will continue to rely on Yahuah. So today's topic is when the only option is to trust Yahuah. Yahuah is the only option. Yahuah is the only way. Sometimes when we're in troubling situations, we try to figure it out. We try to conjure up a plan. We try to develop a method of how we can solve a crisis that we may be in. But a lot of times, Yahuah will allow things to happen where he will literally close every door. He will shut down every path that you try to take. He will throw a wrench on any plan that you try to create, because he wants us, those that love him, those that follow him, to trust him and only him. He is our only option in everything. And we have done things, a lot of us sometimes have done things on our own, and it may work out, and then we'll give Yahuah thanks. But sometimes Yahuah was nowhere in that. We figured it out. We did it ourselves. We leaned on our strength and our ability. We leaned on our jobs, our careers, our business. We figured it out. We got it through. Yes. And then something else comes around. And then we create this beautiful plan. And it all comes to pass. But you have to ask yourself, was Yahuah really in that? You have to ask yourself that. Because, sometimes we can get comfortable when things are going our way. We got favor. When things seem to be running so smooth, and we kind of, tend to relax, kind of chill a little bit, and then boom. But then there are moments where we thought we had it all figured out, and it was unsuccessful. Or we try to do something, and it didn't work out the way we thought it would. And it just seems like every time you put your hand in something, every time you try to figure it out, it collapses. And that's because Yahuah, he wants him to be our only option. Sometimes, well, actually, I would say all the time, we can't do nothing but trust Yahuah. Let's get into the scripture. In 2 Chronicles 14, 9-12. So it says, there came out against them Zerach, the Cushite, with the host of 1,300 chariots, and came into Marishah. So this is King Asa. He has this, when it says 1,000, a million-man army coming against him and his people. A million-man army. Now, yes, Asa's a king. But yet, even a king had to get to a point where this is bigger than me. This is beyond my capabilities. I can't handle this. It said, then Asa went out against him. They set the battle in array in the valley of Zephathah at Marishah. So Asa went out against him. He was prepared for war, but he knew he couldn't do it alone. It says, then Asa cried unto Yahuah and said, Yahuah, it is nothing with you to help, whether with many or with them that have no power. Help us, O Yahuah, for we rest on you, and in your name we go against this multitude. Yahuah, you are our Eluah. Let not man prevail against you. And so Yahuah smote the Cushim before Asa, and before Yehuda, and the Cushim fled. So look at that. Look at that. But right there, he said, O Yahuwah, for we rest on you. With trust in Yahuwah comes rest. You have no rest if you're continually panicking, you're continually, trying to figure it out. You continually lose sleep at night. You're not resting in Yahuwah. That's part of trust. When you absolutely trust in Yahuwah and have absolute amunah in Yahuwah, you will have rest. Why is that? Because you believe without a doubt that whatever situation you're facing, whatever obstacle you're going through, whatever trial that you're currently in, that Yahuwah will deliver. He will make a way. He always makes a way. He always. And Yahuwah will allow your back to be completely against the wall. It will seem like the situation is completely smothering you. It will seem like he is closing the walls around you at every angle, and it gets tighter and tighter and tighter. It would seem like that. But just like King Asa, this 1,000,000-man army came at him. But he said, Yahuwah, listen, I can't defeat this army. This is too big. He said, we rest in you, in your name. See, in Yahuwah's name, you have to go against the situation. In Yahuwah's name, you have to trust and believe that he will do it. Another story, 2 Kings 19, 15 and 16. Now, this is a wicked king, King Sennacherib. Now, he was coming against the people of Yasharal, making all types of threat, saying that he's going to, take their land, take their goods, take their wives and children. This man was making so many threats, and then also he was just bragging, talking about how many lands that he has taken over and how many other kings that came against him, but they all fell by his hand. So he was just boasting. But then he came to a group of people who knew Yahuwah, who trusted in Yahuwah, and this is what they did. It said, Yahu prayed before Yahuwah and said, O Yahuwah, Allure of Yasharal, which dwells between the Cheruvim, you are the Allure, even you alone, of all the kingdoms of the earth. You have made the heavens and the earth. Yahuwah, bow down your ear and hear. Open, Yahuwah, your eyes and see and hear the words of Sennacherib, which has sent him to reproach the living Allure. And then I'm skipping down a couple of verses. I believe this is verse 35. It said, it came to pass that night that the angel of Yahuwah went out and smote the camp of the Asherim, 185,000. That's 185,000. It said, and when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpse. Here it is. Their only option was to trust Yahuwah. Their only option was to cry out. They saw the threat before them, and it was a mighty threat. But they went to Yahuwah. See, we can't, try to continue to try to figure out things on our own, because we'll get caught up in a mess. When we're doing things out of fear, when we're doing things out of an emotional vulnerability, we'll mess up. And then we'll make the situation worse. And this is why in Jeremiah 17:5 says this. Says, thus says Yahuwah, cursed be the man that trusts in man and makes flesh his arm, whose heart departs from Yahuwah. See, the moment you start trusting in man, and the moment you start trusting and relying on your own abilities, your heart will eventually turn away from Yahuwah, and then you will walk down a path of unbelief, which is very dangerous, because once you get to that path and your heart departs from Yahuwah, Yahuwah is no longer in the picture. And then you know what? You become the mighty one yourself, which is idolatry. You'll start depending on yourself. And how many people you see claim to be self-made? They They always brag, oh, I got here because of my hard work, my dedication. I got here because I applied myself. How many people you see do that? You know what I'm saying? They put praise on themselves. They put praise in their dedication and their due diligence. And they chase their dreams. They chase their mission. It's all about them. It's all about me, my. They always credit themselves for what has happened in their life. You know what I'm saying? And that's come from a people who heart departs from Yahuah. They trust in themselves. They trust in man. And they don't even understand that a curse comes with that. But verse 7 says this, same chapter. It says, Barak is the man that trusts in Yahuah, whose hope is Yahuah. See, when you hope in Yahuah, there's so many benefits that come with that. When you trust in him, he will never leave you or forsake you. How I know? The book of Sirach, chapter 2, verse 10 says this. It says, look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in Yahuah and was confounded? Did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? You ask yourself. When we read about the stories of our forefathers, how in the time of crisis, they cried to Yahuah. They called upon him. Did Yahuah ever frown upon them? When it says confounded, did he ever disregard them when they trusted in him? When they feared him, when they leaned on him, did he ever forsake? No. So I think the problem with a lot of us is, and you know, I can say this about myself. When Yahuah does not operate, or he does not do something when we want it done at the time we think is right, we get upset. And a lot of times, I can confess to this, we'll say some crazy stuff. Stuff that we have no business saying. And then we'll start murmuring and complaining to Yahuah. And that in itself is dangerous. That's how a lot of the children of Yasharal got smoked in the wilderness. Because every time something happened, they couldn't see that Yahuah wanted to build their Yahuah wanted them to trust in him and him alone. But every time something happened when they were in the wilderness, the first thing that they did was murmur and complain. They went against the man of Elua and Musha. They went against Aharon. They did not trust the word of Yahuah. They always said some crazy stuff. Oh, you should have never brought us here. You brought us out here to die. We were better off from Mitzrayim. We were better off doing this. We were better off doing that. No. And they couldn't even see, like, you really think that you were better off being enslaved, being oppressed, being afflicted? But we say some crazy stuff in a moment of crisis. And Yahuah is so merciful. Because I know for a fact, I said some things in a time of crisis, in a challenging time, where I'm worthy of death. I'm worthy of the rod of Yahuah to strike me because of some of the things that I said. And I'm so grateful that I'm still here, that he is long suffering. But let me tell you something. Yahuah does have a cutoff point. He does. Because it got to the point where he told the children of Yasharal that a lot of them would not enter to the promise because they would not believe. Unbelief will cause Yahuah to not want to do a work in your life. Unbelief will cause Yahuah to turn his face away from you. Unbelief will cause people to actually begin to operate in witchcraft. They will begin to do the works of the flesh. And they'll put Yahuah's name in it, thinking that he did it, but no, he didn't. Unbelief will cause a person to actually lean towards worshiping Hasatan. So, folks, we got to be very careful. And I listen, man, I know, you know, what's going on in the world. You know, you might have lost a job. You're trying your best, and it seems like those doors aren't opening. You tried to start a business because you hope that, it will bring in some income. You tried the path of entrepreneurship, and it's not working out the way you thought it would. You've tried this and you've tried that, and it just seems like nothing is happening. You might have got some news. You lost a loved one, someone dear to you, or even you got some news about yourself that you never thought that you would hear. It may seem like you're on the verge of being homeless. You don't know how you're going to supply for your family. You don't know how you're going to get, groceries for your children. I mean, all types of situations that a lot of us are facing right now where we just don't know. And we have nothing to fall back on. There's no one that we can call. It seems like Yahuah has just moved everything out of the way. And he's doing that for one purpose and one purpose only. It's so that we can completely trust in him for everything. For everything. Everything that we need, we have to trust in Yahuah. And this is something that, since being in him, that I'm learning. Because it's uncomfortable. This walk is uncomfortable. And Yahuah will strip a lot of things away from us that we thought were a blessing. That we thought that, he opened the door for to get. And like a dear believer put on YouTube, a lot of things, Satan gives a lot of gifts. Yes, he does. And some of those gifts could be careers that we thought would, we were destined to be on. I give you a prime example. I wanted to be a police officer so bad. I was going for it. Until it was brought to my attention that, hey, that is not a field that Yahuah wants you to be on. But of course, Satan will try to make it look real good. Oh, you get a pension, there's benefits, the pay is good, there's that honor of being in uniform, you have power, and all that stuff. But there was something behind it that Yahuah did not want me to even fool around with. And I'm thankful that he closed that door, because I could have been in something that, hey, but Yahuah will close some doors, right? But he wants us to trust in him. Says, trust in Yahuah, lean not into your own understanding, but acknowledge him in everything. And that's where we have to be. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, we have to be tried by the fire. Yes, we have to persevere. And I mean, let's just keep it real. It's hard. But when we understand that our only option is to trust Yahuah, we'll be all right. We'll be all right, because he's a provider. He's a nurturer. He's a deliverer. He's a way maker. He works miracles. And I don't see anywhere where Yahuah has stopped doing wonders for his people. I don't see anywhere where Yahuah stopped opening doors for his people. I don't see anywhere where Yahuah stopped making a way out of no way for his people. He has not changed. He did it then, and he will still do it now. And yes, we're living in these perilous times, but although we're living in these perilous times, Yahuah still take care of his people. He still take care of those who love him, who adore him. We just have to continue to trust him. Trust in him and him alone. Nothing else. That's it. I hope this message baruch you, strengthen you, keep the faith, stay strong, persevere, and again, trust in Yahuah only. Enough said. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening.